Hi, I'm Austin.
I'm Alex,
You're listening to One Last Breath, an autopsy of awful albums.
where we discuss controversial, bizarre, divisive, and downright abysmal albums. Today we'll be discussing one of the classic examples of an album that had such an overwhelmingly negative critical reaction that it's gone on to live in infamy as being considered one of the worst albums ever made. This infamy is perhaps even more heightened due to the fact that one half of this band's personnel features none other than Billy Joel, one of the most successful solo artists of all time, and a rock icon whose best known songs remain classic rock standards to this day.
And it's really weird hearing this album and knowing it's Billy Joel. If I didn't know it was Billy Joel, I don't know. I don't know what my opinion. If my opinion would have changed.
I don't know if it would have changed. Yeah. Well, I'll go over this later. I had my parents listen to this album to tell me their thoughts, and I tried to keep it a secret. I was like, yeah, this is a 70s kind of proto-metal album that is considered one of the worst ever. I just want you guys to listen to it. I was like, there's one of the members is a very famous artist that you definitely know. I tried to keep it a secret, but when you type it into YouTube, it literally says Attila, parentheses, Billy Joel. Because I was like, I really want someone's opinion that has no idea who this is.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know if it would really change my opinion much.
You can pretty easily tell when the vocals come in.
Yeah,
if you're like really familiar with Billy Joel, you'll hear the vocals and be like, okay.
Especially having the context of knowing that someone famous is on this, I feel like it'd be easily discernible. But yeah, so we're not talking about Piano Man today, nor Uptown Girl. We're of course talking about Attila, the 1970s self-titled album featuring the previously mentioned Billy Joel on organ and vocals and John Small on the drums.
I don't know if you looked into what they did with his organ.
Mm-hmm.
But they modded it to plug it into some kind of amp.
A Marshall amp, yeah.
A Marshall, yeah.
Yeah,
so
I had that down, yeah.
It's a really interesting.
And it said they turned the distortion and overdrive all the way up.
You can tell.
Yeah. I mean, there's parts of this album there's parts where you can tell it's an organ playing like the lead part, but
and there's parts where you just can't.
It sounds like a fucking guitar. There's parts where I'm like,
we'll get into it, but
yeah.
Now when you came to me and said, "Hey, can we cover Attila?" My first thought was, the metal band? Fuck no.
Yeah, no, not the metalcore Attila.
Thank God.
Yeah.
But we're not here to shit on Attila. We're here to talk about Attila.
We're not here to shit on Attila. We're here to shit on Attila.
I mean, of course.
You gotta know the difference.
Different bands entirely.
So yeah, no guitars were used in the making of this album. It was a Hammond B3 organ, like you said, directly plugged into an amp.
That's a really nice organ. That's like a famous organ.
Oh yeah, I love Hammond organ, like old classic rock proto-metal shit, like Deep Purple. Who else has a Hammond organ? Fucking Uriah Heep.
It's probably the most iconic organ.
Yeah, I mean even fucking like some Beatles and Rolling Stone stuff, like Billy Preston. You ever heard of him? Yeah, like I love that shit. Like a good organ solo gets me fucking going. Like I love that shit. But yeah, it didn't even have a bass. Billy Joel performed the bass lines on a keyboard, sort of like Ray Manzarek of the Doors, you know?
Yeah.
They were famous for not having a bass. So Billy Joel and John Small had previously played together in the Hassles, which they were a psychedelic rock. I listened to some of them. They had 2 albums. I listened to some stuff from both of them. They were also described as blue-eyed soul, but they really were just kind of straight up psych rock, pop rock kind of ish, you know, of the time. It was like 67 through 69 that they were a thing.
Like what all music kind of sounded like, or all rock sounded like around that point.
Yeah, and I found a Facebook page, a fan page that was ran by 2 fans and the band's guitarist, Richard McKenna. So it had some pretty cool, like, old photos that weren't really anywhere on the internet of the Hassles. According to the Facebook page, they shared the stage with artists such as Traffic, Stevie Wonder, Vanilla Fudge, Ella Fitzgerald, and they also almost opened for the Beatles at Shea Stadium, but apparently they couldn't fly to the gig in enough time, so they apparently hung out backstage with the Beatles, and they got kicked out because the people were like, no, you're not supposed to be here, because I guess they didn't get there in enough time to be part of the bill.
Yeah.
So...
That would have probably, I mean, if that worked out, we probably would have never gotten Attila, we probably would have never gotten Billy Joel. It would have just been them with that band touring the world. Like, opening for the Beatles would have been huge.
Yeah, I mean, you know, who knows if they would have became, like, a very famous group at that time, along the lines of fucking Buffalo Springfield. Like, you know, like, kind of those, that next level down from the Beatles, the Stones. I feel like they might have, could have been that.
They could have, but instead... they went on to do other stuff like this.
And also the band were apparently good friends with Tiny Tim.
I feel like Tiny Tim was a good guy to get along with.
Yeah, so he apparently was... They played shows with him, and he was in the studio during the recording of their second and their last album, The Hour of the Wolf.
Did he get a feature?
No, I don't think so. I guess he was just kind of hanging out, fucking tiptoeing through the tulips in the studio.
You know, as he do.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how accurate any of that information I just relayed is, but I mean, if
it's all from a Facebook page. Nobody lies on the internet.
Yeah, nobody lies.
Especially not about their own band from 50 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this, Richard McKenna, I feel like he wouldn't have to fucking go get clout on the internet by being like, oh, I opened for Stevie Wonder and was friends with Tiny Tim.
He has clout because he played in a band with Billy Joel.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like this is all pretty reliable information, and after the Hassles disbanded, bassist Howie Blavelt went on to form Ram Jam, the band, Black Betty.
Oh, Black Betty.
Yeah. So that was another interesting little fact.
Huh.
So... Billy Joel, about Attila, getting back to the subject at hand, said, "We were heavy metal. We were going to destroy the world with amplification." He said that in a 1985 interview about the band, and he also went on to say, "A lot of people think I just came out of the piano bar. I did a lot of heavy metal for a while. We had about a dozen gigs and nobody could stay in the room when we were playing. It was too loud. We drove people literally out of clubs."
And that's... Imagine just not being able to stay at a club because it's too loud. Because these days, that doesn't make any sense. Clubs are so loud.
Yeah.
You can't hear yourself think.
Yeah.
But I guess back then they were more guys smoking just in the corner of a bar.
I mean, I don't know. Like, if I fucking saw a dude have an organ plugged directly into an amp in a bar and we just fucking soloing out on it, I'd be like, this shit go hard.
Especially in the late 60s, early 70s. I mean, it seems perfect at the time.
Yeah, exactly. But, despite driving people out of clubs, the band managed to secure a deal with Epic Records for the release of their one and only album. It was a critical failure and a commercial flop, with Steve Earlwine stating on AllMusic, "Attila undoubtedly is the worst album released in the history of rock and roll. Hell, the history of recorded music itself. There have been many bad ideas in rock, but none match the colossal stupidity of Attila." Later adding, "By the end of this album, it feels as if a drill has punctured the center of your skull. It's that piercing, painful, and monotonous." And the only other professional review I could find... at least a review that wasn't just a YouTube comment or a message board comment. I don't know. I've never heard of this website, and this guy only had one other review, but his name's Boy Howdy. I guess this is screen name of Head Heritage. He gave a pretty positive review. He said, "Through sheer ham-handed gusto, Billy Joel comes fairly close to beating Deep Purple at their game with just an organ and drums, but it's too over the top. The album cover, the vocals, the lyrics... It just ends up being an extremely entertaining joke that Billy Joel wasn't a part of. But I've got to say, I dug this trip, and the record still puts me in a good mood every time." But yeah, I mean, I wish I could have found more professional reviews. Like, that's one thing with this album. Like, how did it go on to be such a, like when you look up the worst albums of all time, like, this is one of the prime examples. I'm like, I feel like, if anything, it was just kind of ignored.
It was just kind of ignored and forgotten.
Like, so I don't know if the bad credibility came up retrospectively when people started discovering it on the internet, or if, because, it's like there was no, on the Wikipedia article, I tried looking up reviews, like looking up specific site and magazine publications like Rolling Stone, Cream, like magazines I knew of at the time. There's nothing online. Like, I'd love to find old issues of that somewhere and see if I could find a review.
I would love to see more people talking about the album in its time as opposed to basically just people talking about it from a modern perspective.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I guess if it was panned by publications like that, it sort of makes sense because going back, a lot of the proto-metal at the time was really hated. Like Led Zeppelin's first two albums, Black Sabbath's first three albums, even like Helter Skelter by the Beatles.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, like, and then going a little later, like Judas Priest, Motorhead, like I guess people just weren't ready for it. Like,
it feels like that's a common theme in metal. All like every time a new type of metal starts to come out, critics hate it.
Yeah,
and fans hate, and like fans of the older type of metal hate it.
Yeah, but like with this being the first metal, like I think proto metal, I guess, I guess it just kind of seemed too dumbed down for a lot of the critics. Like I feel like they were more so, I guess, artsy and pretentious. They were just
they wanted something more
highbrow, I guess.
More like psych rock, more like Jimi Hendrix. They were looking for stuff like that, not stuff that was.
I mean, I fucking love Jimi Hendrix.
Loud and aggressive.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know, because it's like, I mean, going back, everything that I mentioned has gone on to, of course, have critical acclaim with the same publications that shit on it in the past, considering it like greatest albums ever. So it's like
it's just got forgotten.
Yeah. So it's very weird. But the same year Attila was released, the band split up. The failure of their studio effort was obviously a huge reason, but also Billy Joel attempted suicide by drinking furniture polish and was having an affair with John Small's wife, with whom he had a kid. Did you see that?
No.
You didn't see that?
No. I did not look much into this album. I just kind of listened to it. I read bits of the Wikipedia page and listened to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing the main research here. Austin's doing the editing, so yeah, I'm kind of the one that's scouring the depths of the internet.
Lord.
I mean, I think it was on the Wikipedia page. It didn't mention his suicide attempt on the Wikipedia page.
I just looked at like reception.
Yeah, I had heard that he had attempted suicide and like
I had heard about that. But the kid thing with his bandmate's wife.
Well, his bandmate had a kid with the wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he was having an affair.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't really know what the order of events were with that. Like, I don't know if he attempted suicide because it said that I didn't get her name down, but the woman he was having an affair with, which he went on to be married to for 9 years, Billy Joel.
Oh.
She had basically said that she was cutting off both men if he didn't admit to having an affair. So I guess he admitted to having an affair to John Small, and he apparently punched him in the face. But then also John Small was the one that took him to the hospital after his suicide attempt. So I'm like, I don't really know the order of events here. If I don't know, if it was the pressure of...
And John Small didn't go on to form another band or anything?
No, he went on to be a video producer and director. He eventually reconciled with Billy Joel. He produced 2 live films for him. One of which was, I forget what it was called, but it was one of the first instances of an American artist going and playing in Russia. And like
during the Soviet Union.
Yeah. It was like in 81, 82. Like him and like Paul McCartney were
10-ish years before the wall came down.
Yeah, probably. But
this is a real the whole affair, punching in the face. It's a real Taking Back Sunday brand new kind of thing.
Yeah,
so I'm kind of upset
that
he didn't go on to form another band and they didn't just have diss albums.
Yeah. As far as I know, I mean, he might have. It's it could be possible that he did some studio session work. I don't know, because I mean, he's a good drummer, like
really good drummer.
Yeah. So, but I mean, he went and did something with music, and I mean, I'm assuming video producer, since he did the 2 things for Billy Joel, was probably
most of doing live concerts.
Yeah,
and,
I need to watch those. That would be cool to see one. I think it was the first American artist to go over and play in Russia. So, I'd like to see that. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, Billy Joel went on to have a very successful solo career, having 33 top 40 hits. That's a fucking lot.
That's one of the biggest.
Yeah, he has been nominated for 23 Grammys, winning 6 of them, and he also won a Tony in 2001. His success makes him the 7th best-selling recording artist and 4th best-selling solo artist in the U.S., with over 160 million records sold worldwide.
Good for Billy.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I'm a Billy. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a Billy Joel fan. I've never listened to a whole album.
No, I've liked what I've heard.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know all 33 of his top 40 hits, but I'd say I know a good, probably at least 20 Billy Joel songs.
And they're all good. It's no Elton John. But I just grew up more in Elton John.
Yeah, it's weird. Therefore, I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of either. I know more Billy Joel. So I feel like I like Billy Joel maybe as a whole more, but Elton John's better songs, I would say, or best songs are better than Billy Joel. Like, Tiny Dancer, I love that song. Yeah.
Crocodile Rock, he was on the Muppets.
Yeah.
Was Billy Joel on the Muppets?
Benny and the Jets, you gotta...
Okay, enough talking about Elton John. We're talking about Attila.
Yeah. Alright, so, I mean, what are your first thoughts on this album?
I think that this album got traction. if this album had been remembered, we would all be looking back at this as the most important album in metal.
Yeah, I think it really deserves a lot of more praise and respect than it got. So, like I was saying, the initial hate, or supposedly initial hatred, like I said, couldn't really find any old reviews, but I think it all probably did stem from what I was saying with critics just hating the proto-metal style. I guess they just weren't ready for it, but...
You weren't ready for this, but your kids are going to love it.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, it also really reminds me of... There's this band called Dust that I discovered recently that they only had 2 albums. One, I think it might have been like 70 and 72, something like that. I was at a local record store and I was flipping through the new arrivals and it was like $10 and it was an original pressing and it just had this fucking like 2 Vikings on a snowy mountainside. And I was like, this looks like it'll be some really good proto-metal. Like, it looks like it'll go hard. So I bought it. And it was really good, and it was pretty similar to this. Like, as I was listening to this, I was like, I can see the vibes. But, yeah, I mean, I like it.
I really liked this album.
I really like it.
I went into this not knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
And I came out... The only reason this is not going into my rotation on Spotify is because it's not on Spotify.
Yeah, I legit need to download this on my computer and fucking upload it to my Spotify, like the local files.
Yeah, I'm tempted to do that because it's such a good album.
Yeah, which me and Austin, we had discussed that I was like, when you listen to the album, do not tell me what you think about it because I want it to be a surprise. So I figured you would like it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, Alex probably likes this.
Yeah.
But I was also like, this could be the first time we're divided on something.
Yeah,
but it's not. We both really like it.
Yeah.
Vocally, it's nothing special for its time.
Yeah.
It's kind of Led Zeppelin-y vocally, but in some parts, kind of Dio-y vocally in some parts.
Yeah, there was some parts that reminded me of like the very early power metal
movements. But for the most, it's contemporary.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what you would expect from an album released in 70...
I think 70.
70?
Yeah. So I was really thinking like I didn't know what to expect. I was thinking at the most that maybe a lot of the negativity came from, it might have some really drawn out songs like, kind of going nowhere. Like I didn't expect it to be god awful, but I didn't expect to like it as much. I thought I'd be middle of the road. Like
I thought it would just be more boring.
Yeah, boring, exactly.
But the longest track on the album was 9 minutes. It's technically 2 songs.
I think the longest that wasn't split into 2 was
like 7
Tear This Castle Down.
It was like 7 minutes,
Yeah, but and
they all keep going places the entire time.
Yeah, it stays really consistent. Like no dull moments, I would say.
No one.
So you want to get into a track by track now?
Okay, so Wonder Woman is the song that I think it's the one I have the least amount of notes on. This and there's one other one that I don't have a lot of notes on.
Okay.
All I can say is, this song sounds like you went up to the Doors before a recording session where they needed one more song, they didn't know what to do, and you're like, hey man, there's this really cool thing called meth.
So it sounds like the Doors on meth?
And they just freestyled the greatest shit that they've ever done. That's what this sounds like. It just sounds like...
The greatest shit they've ever done.
The Doors on a ton of stimulants. And it's incredible.
Okay.
I like this song.
I like it. I feel like when obviously being the intro track, I was like, oh shit, this is really good. But as I listened to the rest of the album and as I listened to the album multiple times, I liked it less. I mean, not to say I dislike it. Like, it's a good song, but...
It's one of the weaker tracks on the album.
Yeah, there was more on the album that wowed me later on, but...
Yeah, I think, personally, I'm going to go ahead and say, I think the B-side is better than the A-side, for the most part.
I completely agree, yeah. But... I just wanted to acknowledge that this song might have been written about John Small's wife.
Is she a redhead?
Was she I don't know. Let's see. Was she the Wonder Woman? Let's see. Oh, Billy Joel's first wife was not from fucking 2015 to present.
Are you sure?
I don't know. No, she did not have red hair. She has kind of blackish brunette hair, so I don't know. I just... After knowing that and hearing the lyrics, I was like, this might have been written about her, and John Small is just unknowingly banging out the drums on a song.
He's banging out the drums while he's banging out his wife.
I mean, maybe that's why he said she had red hair. He didn't want to make it too sus.
Yeah, maybe.
He's like, who is this Wonder Woman that you speak of?
One thing I do want to mention about this album. So normally when I go to listen to an album for this, I'll listen to it once without taking notes, and then start taking notes the second listen. About a minute and a half into this track, I was like, if I don't start taking notes now, I'm not going to get the best notes that I can have. I had to take as many notes as I could the first listen. Yeah,
for me, that's a good approach. I should maybe try that, but for me, I'm really airheaded. Like, I just space out a lot, so I'm like, if I don't immediately write something down, I'll probably forget it. Which, leads to some stuff I'll write down, then later on I'll be like, I changed my mind about that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, this, like, the first full listen of this that I had, I got almost every single note I have right now. Like, I added a few more, but it was pretty much all immediately.
Mostly from the first listen.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Wonder Woman, decent track. I really like the ending of it. It was like weedly weedly bun da bun da bun da bun. Like it kind of So,
California Flash.
I like this one too.
I really liked it.
Liked it? Yeah, the bass line sounds almost identical to Peace Frog by The Doors. You know that one?
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun,
yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
I knew. The vocal melody at the beginning sounds almost exactly like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Da 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 da.
Huh, okay. I'll need to listen back to it with you mentioning that. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
The first key solo, incredible. The second key solo, incredible.
Yeah, the California Flash was a fucking menace. Did you read the lyrics?
Yeah.
It's like,
I didn't hear it the second time I listened. I was like, yo.
Yeah, California Flash was.
He had a 20-foot mustache.
He was on fucking demon time, bro.
He started flashing everyone.
Yeah, shit.
He should not have been allowed to cook.
No. But yeah, I really like the ending of this song too. It had like a really good, like you said, really good key solos, organ, whatever the fuck,
and
with a really good back and forth between the organ and the drums.
And before that second solo, there's like a breakdown, and it's surprisingly heavy.
Yeah.
For just being keys and drums.
I mean, a lot of this album is
weirdly heavy.
Yeah, it's like I don't know how he achieved.
I don't understand.
Like some of it, you can definitely tell that it's organ. But then some of it, I'm like, if I didn't know that, I would think it's just a guitar. Like some of it sounds straight up like a guitar.
I think I think it's on this song. There's a part that just sounds like someone scraping strings that are muted, like the chick chick chick.
Oh, yeah. Is that in Rolling or? I don't. It might be in California.
I think it
I know
might
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's in this, but I don't know how they did that.
Yeah, it's like chicka
chicka chicka chicka. Yeah, like that's really contemporary with psych rock, where they were doing it with a wah pedal.
Yeah,
to get like that sound. I don't know how they did it with the organ.
I don't know. So yeah, California Flash. I like that song too. Next is Revenge is Sweet.
This is another one I didn't get a lot of notes on. It's fine.
Yeah, it's alright.
It's one of the weaker songs in the album.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like we were saying, early power metal, like not really power metal, so to say, but like Dio, Rainbow, Saxon, like
that
even Maiden
metal
stuff.
Yeah,
like I guess the new wave of British heavy metal, like like really theatrical vocals, like and the lyrics too, like they were kind of cringe.
Yeah,
like
there's a really nice grit in his voice though, which isn't something you hear.
Yeah,
you hear it a couple times in this. It feels like if he had pushed it a little farther, he could have gotten some early harsh vocals.
Yeah,
there was a part that sounded like it was almost a scream. And the main riff reminded me of Magic Carpet Ride by Steppenwolf.
Okay. Okay. I didn't catch that. I'll need
that's
to
just
hear
something
that
that
again.
just popped up. I was like, okay, Magic Carpet Ride, cool.
Steppenwolf is actually a pretty good comparison to Attila. I didn't even think about that.
This is a heavier Steppenwolf.
Yeah, because Steppenwolf, I feel like they could kind of be considered proto-metal. I mean, especially with what's the fucking Riding Down the Highway?
Yeah.
Born to be Wild.
Born to be Wild,
yeah. Especially with that song, but overall, I feel like a lot of their other stuff I've heard isn't as heavy.
Yeah, this is definitely like much heavier than Steppenwolf.
Yeah, with the keys and the organs.
You can definitely hear some comparison between the two.
Yeah, the ending of the song was another really good solo. it sounded like organ and guitar at the same time. So I
Yeah,
mean,
I think it's just the distortion makes the higher notes of the organ sound like guitar.
yeah. So I'm like, I don't know if it was double track. I mean, I don't know.
Because I'm assuming that they track multiple organ bits.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there are definitely parts where you can hear a rhythm organ playing both a bass part and a treble part, but then him also going crazy.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, overall, I mean, I think I got it as my least favorite song on the album, which that's not a knock at all. I mean, it's a perfectly
it's a
passable
good song. It's
yeah,
just not my favorite song.
I'd say the biggest detractor of it is the lyrics. Like, I don't know, it kind of sounds like he has a little man syndrome. Like, he's like, you spit in my eye. Like, I don't know, it's just fucking.
Yeah,
it's a little over the top. But
but I mean, it's something that would go on to be in metal, like the aggressive.
Yeah,
like it's almost a diss track.
Like fucking, I don't know, like all the pent up rage of getting bullied and stuff, and you're just like releasing it in music. So, all right, then next is the first instrumental of the album.
I got this as one. I noted this as one song because it is one long continuous song.
Amplifier Fire.
Part one, Godzilla. Part two, March of the Huns.
Yeah,
but it's just one really long song.
Yeah, but I mean, it does have a. You know, you can definitely tell when it splits without even having to look at the track listing. Like, there's a switch up.
But I think Them Together is my favorite track on the album.
Okay. Yeah, the Godzilla, it starts off with, like, you know, it has a really, like, badass, I would say, like, fast-paced organ soloing, like,
and it also
really
has,
good drum fills, like.
It starts off with this chordal section, it's like dun 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 dun, and it reminded me of slam metal.
Billy Joel's the originator of slam metal?
Yeah,
like
kind of. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
It was
okay.
Like there's a lot of parts in this. I'm like, okay, I hear this type of metal in this.
Mm-hmm.
And the lead bits would be out of place in the slam part, but like that chordal section is so slam.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, they fucking shred. Both of them, like, are really, really good on this album, instrumental wise.
Yeah. I mean, the ending of the Godzilla part is like really glitchy, but it's glitchy in a really good way.
Mm-hmm. And then going into March of the Huns, I don't like it as much as the Godzilla part, but it's still really good. It lives up to the namesake, March of the Huns. Like, it sounds like marching music. Like,
the drum bit, the
yeah,
it reminded me of Indians by Anthrax.
Oh, okay, damn, you're getting all these comparisons. I was like, oh yeah, I mean, that part kind of sounds like Peace Frog by the Doors, and you're like, every single song
you can hear
the influence.
Like, I don't know. I don't think these metal musicians actually listen to this.
I mean, there might be some. I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be, but the dung, that's just like Indians.
Yeah. And I really like how this 2-part instrumental broke up the album. Like, I would assume that maybe since the second side, all the songs are longer, I'm pretty sure. Like, I feel like the first side was probably ended with this instrumental.
It did, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I feel like it kind of segues really well into the second half of the album, which like you said, I like the second half better. I feel like it's heavier the second half, and it's more lyrically rich, I would say.
Yeah.
Like better themes. Like, I feel like the first half is kind of personal themes, it seems like, and then goofy with, like, the California Flash.
Yeah, California Flash is very goofy.
Yeah, but then the second, I mean, personal as well, but I feel like the second half really has, like, early metal influence, like, kind of the vibe that a lot of early metal lyrics went for.
Yeah.
Like epic in scope, I guess you could say.
Yeah, Amplifier Fire, by the end, is just a really menacing track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gives off, like, I could imagine rolling up a joint and, like, listening to this in a fucking basement in the 70s and be like, oh shit.
And losing my mind.
Yeah. Like this is fucking heavy. Like, yeah.
Because at this point, you would have never heard anything close to this.
Yeah, I mean, by this, I think maybe Sabbath's first album was out by this point?
I think their first album was 68.
Was it? Maybe.
Yeah, I believe their first album was in the late 60s.
Maybe 69.
Yeah.
Possibly 70. But, yeah, I don't know. But, so, I mean, if it was, then I would say the title track, Black Sabbath, was heavier than this is. But, you know, not much out there at this time that really had that menacing, like, almost primal feel to it. So, Amplifier Fire was really good.
My favorite song on the album, I think.
Okay.
Rollin' Home.
I don't have a lot to say about it. Kind of like how you don't have much to say about Revenge is Sweet. Like, it's a decent song.
I found some more, like, important parts that eventually became important metal staples.
Okay.
There are parts where the drum beat sounds, not to talk down about the drummer, but it sounds like a kid's first attempt at a blast beat after they've been playing drums for a couple of years.
Okay.
And that's not to say that he's bad at drums, it's just they didn't have the blast beat yet. This song also uses the minor second a lot, which is like the panic chords in metal.
Yeah. Okay.
I heard that a lot in the keyboard, which is really, that's not something you would have heard at this time at all.
Mm-hmm.
No metal band really used panic chords until like the 2000s was when those got really big.
Okay, yeah, it starts off, if I remember correctly, it starts off with kind of like a rolling drum beat. Like,
yeah.
And I feel like when I think it goes instrumental towards the end. Like the vocals kind of get out of the way pretty early. At the end, it starts to pick up for me, and I really like the ending to it. It gets pretty heavy. I guess that's probably where the panic chords are coming in.
The panic chords and the like kind of blast beat.
Yeah.
And there's also the part that really marks the two sections apart is there's that like the droning sound.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like a dive bomb that like Dimebag Darrell is known for using a lot.
Or like a Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, it just sounds like one of those.
Okay.
It's a really wild album. I wouldn't be surprised if there were metal musicians that had just gotten this on some like bootleg tape, just this song, and been like, I like this stuff.
Yeah, or I mean, you know, the album cover is them wearing like fucking medieval garbery, whatever you want to fucking call it, and it's like
looking menacing.
And it looks like they're in like a meat locker. Like
I don't know. It's really
so. I mean, I could definitely see fucking Eddie Van Halen or Dimebag or somebody
looking
when they
at
were
that album cover being like, I'm buying that.
I mean, you know, I've done that before. If the price is right and the album cover looks cool, I'm like, fuck it, I'll take a chance on this.
I would love to get this on vinyl. Actually,
I would. I looked. It's actually not as expensive as you would think.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
like original press. Well, obviously original pressings. They wouldn't have repressed this.
Yeah. Well, I think there's bootleg repressings, but I think in some other countries there's I don't know. Discogs is kind of weird for sometimes to determine if shit is a bootleg or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some original pressings like in different countries too that really weren't that bad. I mean, a little pricey, like $50, $60, $70.
I think it's worth it to own this. I mean, this is an important part of music.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
shit. If I ever stumble upon this at a record show or a record store, and you know it's $50, I'd fucking buy it. I might not get it on Discogs because you know you might get the $20 shipping slapped on there, and I'm like, but yeah, I mean, I would love to have this.
Yeah, Tear This Castle Down.
I really like this one.
It's really good.
It starts off with like a kind of proto doom metal ish.
Yeah,
and it seems like it sounds like a synthesizer kind of like it has like the droning. It's like doom 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 doom, but it has like the feel of maybe some Sabbath stuff. I feel like there's a specific song by them that also has that kind of effect on the. I mean, I guess it was the keyboard that Billy Joel was doing that on. Maybe it doesn't really sound. I don't know. It could have been the organ, but yeah, it has like a really electronic feel to it. But it's also I don't know.
I don't know. It is kind of the verses are super menacing. They're very dark. Vocally, this is the most he sounds like Dio in the whole album. Okay. I think. There is that bridge, the silly little bridge. That could just be Billy Joel. That's just a Billy Joel song.
Yeah. But yeah, it has a really fast-paced solo at the end, too.
That like, breakdown solo?
Yeah, and it segues into the opening riff again. And is really executed
well,
in my
that
opinion.
little breakdown... If you had told me that Thomas Erik wrote that from Fall of Troy, I'd be like, oh yeah, of course he did.
Okay,
It's very math rocky.
Yeah.
And then there's once again the proto blast beats during that part too.
Yeah, a lot of this album is really chaotic in a good, like the instrumentals chaotic in a good way. You know, like you said, similar to like math rock, mathcore, kind of jazz fusion. Like,
yeah, it's really ahead of its time in that too.
Yeah.
Because jazz fusion really came to a head in what, like 77?
Yeah, I
With
mean,
Yako? Or was
I
Yako before that?
don't know. I mean, I know that like "Bitches Brew" by Miles Davis came out in, I want to say it was anywhere between 70 to 72. I want to say, but I feel like that's more so like Latin inspired, stuff like this, like shreddy, almost more prog rock inspired jazz fusion. Yeah, is more of like a mid late 70s thing.
Yeah.
Which I've been into a lot of that shit lately. And a lot of this album reminded me of that, especially we'll get to it later, but Brain Invasion really sounded jazz fusion-esque to me. So yeah, Tear This Castle Down, I really like it. Holy Moses, I really like it too.
It's a good song. A really weird thing I noticed. Some of the lyrics in the chorus specifically might be a reference to Singing in the Rain.
And Holy Moses?
Yeah,
okay.
So there's a song on Singing in the Rain called Moses that starts off with the Moses supposes his toes are roses, but Moses supposes erroneously, because Moses, he knows this, his toes aren't roses, as Moses supposes his toes to be.
Alright, I kind of followed.
In the chorus, he's like, Holy Moses, she supposes, or Holy Moses, bring me my roses.
Oh, okay.
And the timing works out. Billy Joel would have been a kid when Singing in the Rain came out, and it was a huge hit.
Okay. Damn. Yeah, you really were digging for these fucking connections to shit. Damn. Okay.
Once again, vocally, it's Dio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it starts off with a kind of like a funky drum break to it, like something that I feel like could be sampled in hip hop. Kind of similar to, I don't know if you've probably you might have heard this drum break before. You know the band Mountain, another like proto-metal. I mean, obviously Mississippi Queen.
Yeah.
They have this song called Long Red. And there's a live album by them that it's a lot different than the studio version. So the drum break from the beginning of that live album, it went on to be one of the most sampled drum breaks in the history of hip hop. And this really gives me that vibe. Like I feel like this could be used for especially like a lot of old school like 80s 90s hip hop. I could see using this as the basis for a beat.
I don't know if you also noticed the piano chugs.
Yeah.
Like it's just
yeah.
And I mean he just did that by doing really quiet notes and then hitting a loud one, but
I was trying so hard. There's some like that piano part that we're talking about reminds me exactly of another song. I want to say it's by Jimi Hendrix, but the only one I could think of that it reminded me of was Spanish Castle Magic, and even then it's not too awfully similar, but I feel like I've heard this somewhere before.
I've definitely heard this somewhere, but I don't know where. But like the chugging piano was really, or the chugging organ was really cool.
Yeah, it was. Like I definitely feel like, I mean, it could be Deep Purple. I don't know. It could be one of the other bands around at the time. But as soon as I heard it, I was like, I've heard something very similar to this before. But it was really good, and I love how this song ends too. The organ and the keyboard going off, and like it gets really fuzzy as the song fades out.
I wouldn't be surprised if they actually ran a pedal on parts of this song just to add a little bit more fuzz. And then the last track on the album is Brain Invasion. Yeah,
like I said, a very jazz fusion-esque song. I feel like especially this one, this one I would say is heavy in its own right, but I'd say it's more so, I mean, like I said, like jazz inspired.
Yeah, I don't,
rather than like heavy blues inspired.
There's that really staccato part at the beginning. I don't know if it was the amp or organ glitching out or if it was on purpose, but it sounded like a kill switch, like on a guitar.
Okay, yeah.
Which is pretty popular in metal and also jazz fusion. And that was really cool to hear because that wasn't an idea yet as far as I've been able to tell.
Yeah, fucking, it's like shredding on the organ. Billy shreds on the organ on this one again. Really good drum parts, great back and forth between the two. I like how, another reason it reminds me of jazz fusion is like the very first riff that's kind of established is brought back multiple times in
Yeah,
the song,
and
but it always segues
it's
to
always-
something different.
It's always changed upon a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, which I love shit like that.
There is that more upbeat, cleaner section
Mhm.
that reminded me of Bubble Bobble.
Bubble Bobble? What's that?
It's a video game.
Oh, a video game. Okay.
And it has the song from Bubble Bobble, because it only plays the one song through 100 levels. Is
this like a puzzle
It's
game?
a Taito arcade game.
Oh, okay.
It's the characters went on to be in Puzzle Bobble, which is the one where you throw balls up at the top to match colored balls.
Oh, yeah.
But
Okay.
the Bubble Bobble
yeah.
is just like a platforming adventure game.
Okay.
But it just has this one really upbeat, chiptune song. Because it was a arcade game from I think '83.
Okay. Yeah. So back when
It just reminded me of Bubble Bobble, and also like kind of Chawny.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. And also you've already mentioned stuff that you feel like could have been like a proto blast beat. I found on the album stream or whatever of this on YouTube. A YouTube comment by G. Heber. He said this song contains what very well may be the first example of a blast beat, at least in like a rock proto-metal because there's like blast beats and jazz.
Yeah, but it's a
lot different. Yeah. I should have wrote down the exact like timestamp, but I mean it would kind of be hard since it's a full album stream. So if you were to listen to that, or if you just look up the song specifically.
Yeah.
But I went back and listened to what he was saying, and yeah, like there's this part that's like pretty much straight up a blast beat. Like it was pretty crazy. I didn't catch it by myself, so that's why I wanted to point out G. Heber.
Good for thank you, G. Heber.
Yeah.
This is an album that you're not going to catch everything the first listen.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on.
I think you could probably get 100 listens out of this and hear a new part every time.
Yeah, that's the very end of the track list. So I can tell you what my parents thought about it.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
What did they think?
Yeah, so my parents they grew up in the 70s. They both graduated high school in the late 70s, so they're big fans of classic rock.
This is
old
exactly
school
up their alley.
Yeah, exactly. My mom loves Deep Purple, Zeppelin, Sabbath. My dad too. Like they love all that shit. So yeah, I told them to listen to it. They said my mom had the most to say about it. My dad was like, yeah, it was pretty good. Like, didn't have much to say, but my mom, she said that she enjoyed a lot of it. Her favorite part was Amplifier Fire. That was her favorite song, and she also thought the second side was better than the first.
The second side is just the better album.
Yeah. So she said it would have been better if it was a 4-piece band. She said some of the parts where the organ didn't really work for her in every single part. She said she thinks she would have liked it better if it had, I mean, still keeping the organ, but also a guitar along with the organ and a bass. And she also thought that Billy Joel kind of tried too hard with his vocals. So I mean,
possibly, but I think they come off. I think they come off like really well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say for me the only parts that they're kind of is "Revenge is Sweet." I mean, tone-wise is good, but like just his voice matched with the lyrics just kind of sounds
it's weird.
A little too over
Billy
the top.
Joel singing that.
All right, I mean, want to get to your favorite 3 songs on the album?
Yeah. So my favorite 3 songs: Amplifier Fire.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna say part 1 and 2 is the same song.
Mm-hmm.
Holy Moses, and then actually California Flash. Just 'cause it's a fun little romp.
Okay. Yeah, my favorite 3 are Tear This Castle Down, Brain Invasion, and Holy Moses. But I wanted to give honorable mention to California Flash and Amplifier Fire Part 1.
Really, the whole album is my favorite, except for like Wonder Woman and Revenge is Sweet.
For my least favorite 3, I put Revenge is Sweet as my least favorite, Wonder Woman, and I put Amplifier Fire Part 2 just because, I mean, I like it, but I feel, I mean, obviously, if you were to just go out to only listen to Amplifier Fire, you would listen to them together, but taken as it is, just the part 2, like...
Yeah, part 2, you really need part 1 to establish
it. It needs to work in the context of the album, so I was like, if I need to get a top 3, those are going to be it, but, I mean, all those songs are still good songs.
Yeah, they're all good songs. My least favorite is just Revenge is Sweet and Wonder Woman, just because they did the least.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got a few funny / worst lyrics.
I was too busy being like melted by the music to really pay attention to the lyrics. And there's some weird stuff in California Flash. The lick my feet part in Revenge is Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, so I got people laughed at me, said that I never win. Now I turn around and kick your faces in. Like the way he says it is just that's what I'm saying. It's like it's just kind of like
Yeah.
And then revenge is sweet, and now I make you kiss my feet. And then the girls all started to crash to see the California Flash removing his pants.
That was good.
Yeah, it was just funny.
I like they have a 20-foot mustache.
Yeah, 20-foot
something
mustache.
About France. I didn't catch that line quite.
I don't know.
But,
Yeah. But I mean, overall, it's a very well put together and performed album.
Yeah.
Runs at a good pace.
Doesn't overstay its welcome. It's like 40 minutes?
Yeah, I think right at 40. It's like 39, 40 minutes. So it goes by really easily digestible.
There's never a part where I feel like he overstays his welcome in any bit.
So, I mean, looking around at YouTube comments and stuff, it seems like a lot of people kind of are on the consensus that we are, like, don't really understand why this is hated. I don't know. It's kind of a conundrum of why this is still considered one of the worst albums ever.
Not only do I think it deserves one last breath, I think that if you're a fan of music, it would be a disservice to not listen to this album.
Yeah, I mean, if this album were choking, I would give it mouth to mouth.
I'd marry this album and then have my bandmate have an affair with it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you might punch you in the face and you might drink some furniture polish.
But like, overall...
I mean, you go on to have one of the most successful careers of all time.
Yeah.
So Rate Your Music, there's nothing on Metacritic for it, so I got from Rate Your Music, which I guess is another like aggregate music score. From 383 ratings, it has a 2.93 out of 5. That's low for me. I'd say
that's low.
If we're still going out of 10, I give it 8.5 out of 10.
I give it a 9.5.
Damn, okay.
I think this is one of the most important. I think if this had gotten traction, it would have been the most important album in metal and one of the most important albums in music as a whole. I think everyone should listen to this front to back at least once.
Okay. Damn. Some high praise.
It's a really good album.
Yeah. So.
And you can tell because we've been talking about it for longer than the album runs for.
Oh shit, have we? Damn. So yeah, I mean, deserves one last breath. We both like it. I mean, for this show, we're not gonna shit on stuff that is popular to shit on. I mean, we're gonna give our honest opinion. So if you thought maybe we were critical on Lulu just because that's how everyone else is, nope.
No, Lulu is actually bad. This album is incredible.
Fashionably late, good.
Incredible.
So yeah, that's just kind of how it goes around here. So
well, anyways, thank you for listening to One Last Breath.
Yeah, thank you.
Check out the fucking album.
Yeah, do it.
And we will see you next week.
See you next week with whatever.